So, good day everyone. So, my report is all about the Code of Ethics and Republic Act 9298. So, first, what is the Code of Ethics? So, the Code of Ethics is a guide of principles designed to help professionals conduct business honestly and with integrity. Ito po yung guide kung paano or how professionals behave in a workplace and on how they approach problems. So, the Code of Professional Ethics. Standards of conduct that embody and demonstrate integrity, objectivity, and concern for the public interest. It is designed to ensure employees are behaving in a manner that is socially acceptable and respectful of one another. Ito yung they act professionally sa work. Example, CPAs are expected to follow similar ethical standards of truthfulness, objectivity, and integrity. As CPA, dapat totoo yung mga presentation mo sa paggawa ng FS. Hindi ka dapat nang dadaya. We can say that the Code of Professional Ethics is where professionals doing their best as they can and palaging pinipili ang tama sa trabaho. So, the Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants in the Philippines is based on the IFAC Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants. So, ano nga ba ang IFAC? So, IFAC or the International Federation of Accountants serves the public interest by contributing to the development of strong and sustainable organizations, market, and economies. It advocates for transparency, accountability, and comparability of financial reporting, helps develop the accountancy profession, and communicates the importance and value of accountants to the global financial infrastructure. It is the worldwide organization for the accountancy profession. Sila yung tumutulong na ma-develop pa at maging valuable pa ang accountancy profession. So next, the parts of the Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants. So, we have three parts, which is the Part A, the general application of the code, Part B, the professional accountants in public practice, Part C, professional accountants in business. So, tatalakayin po natin yan mamaya. And next, the conceptual framework approach. A. Identify threats to compliance with the fundamental principles. B. Evaluate the significance of the threats identified. And C. Apply safeguards when necessary to eliminate the threats or reduce them to an acceptable level. So, sabi doon sa conceptual framework approach is first, we will identify the threats. So, the first threat is the self-interest threat. So, it is the threat that a financial or other interest will inappropriately influence the professional accountant's judgment or behavior. So, a self-interest threat exists if the auditor holds a direct or indirect financial interest in the company or depends on the client for a major fee that is outstanding. So, example, the audit team is preparing to conduct its 2020 audit for ABC Company. However, the audit team has now received its audit fees for ABC Company for its 2019 audit. So, yung issue dito is the audit team might be tempted to issue a favorable report so that the company is able to secure a loan to settle the fees outstanding for their 2019 audit. So, self-interest threat is si accountant parang nagka-interest sa pera ni company kaya nang dadaya siya. So, sa second threat is the self-review threat. Is the threat that a professional accountant will not objectively evaluate the results of the previous judgment made or service provided in forming a conclusion about the subject matter of engagement. So, example, the auditor prepares the financial statements for ABC company will also serving as the auditor for ABC company. So the issue there is by having the auditor review his or her own work, the auditor cannot be expected to form an unbiased opinion or the financial statements. So next, C, the advocacy threat, is the threat that a professional accountant will promote a client's or employer's position to the point that the professional accountant's objectivity is compromised. Example, the auditor is assisting in selling ABC company while also serving as the auditor of the company. So, the issue is the auditor may issue a favorable report to increase the sale price of ABC company. Hindi trabaho ni auditor na mag-assist in selling pero ginawa niya pa rin kahit against yun. So, next, the familiarity threat. Of course, when by virtue of close relationship with client, its directors and etc. becomes too sympathetic to the client's interest. So, this threat is present when auditors are not sufficiently skeptical of an auditor's assertions, and as a result, kasi ka-close mo yung auditor, you readily accept the viewpoint of that auditors because of their familiarity or trust in the auditor. So next, the intimidation threat. So is the threat that a professional accountant will be deterred from acting objectively because of actual or perceived pressures, including attempts to exercise undue over the professional accountants. So example, ABC company is unhappy with the conclusion of the audit report and threatens to switch auditors next year. ABC company is the biggest client of the auditor. The issue there is the auditor's independence may be compromised. Bilang malaking client nila si ABC company, natural na ayaw nilang mawala ito. Therefore, the auditor may issue a report that will make ABC company happy in a way na against sa trabaho ni auditor. So, next, safeguards. So, safeguards are created by the profession, legislation, or regulation, and the safeguards in work environment, firm-wide safeguards, engagement-specific safeguards, and safeguards within the client systems and procedures. So, what is safeguards? So, safeguard, it provides guidance or a course of action which attempts to remove the ethical threats, actions, or other measures that may eliminate threats or reduce them to an acceptable level. They fall into two broad categories. So, yung A and B, the safeguards created by the professional legislation or regulations, and B, safeguards in the work environment. So, sa safeguards created by the professional legislation or regulation, so it includes educational training and experience requirements for entry into profession, continuing professional development requirements, C, corporate governance regulations, professional standards, and professional or regulatory monitoring and disciplinary procedures, and external review by a legally empowered third party of the reports, returns, communication, or information produced by professional accountants. So, sa B na safeguards in work environment include firm-wide safeguards, engagement-specific safeguards, and safeguards within the client system and procedures. So now we will discuss na about sa part of the Code of Ethics of Professional Accountants. So sa part A, which is the general application of the code. So first, the section 100, Introduction and Fundamental Principles. So, yung general application, ito yung mga ethical guide na dapat sundin ng mga professional accountant. So, dito sa section 100, nakapaloob yung introduction ng accountancy profession. Sinasabi dito na ang distinguishing mark of the accountancy profession is its acceptance of the responsibility to act in the public interest. Sa code na ito din nakapaloob yung conceptual framework approach na natalakay natin kanina, yung identify the threats and yung safeguards. And then, sinasabi din sa code na ito na a professional accountant shall comply with the following fundamental principles, which is the integrity, objectivity, and the professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and the professional behavior. So, tatalakayin natin yan mamaya yung mga fundamental principles sa mga susunod na mga section. So, sa section 110, dito nakapaloob yung integrity. So, it means that Section 110, not merely honesty, but fair dealing and truthfulness. So, the principle of integrity imposes an obligation on all professional accountants to be straightforward and honest in all professional and business relationships. Integrity also implies fair dealing and truthfulness. So, Section 120, which is the objectivity, to be fair, intellectually honest, and free from conflicts of interest. The principle of objectivity imposes an obligation on all professional accountants not to compromise their professional or business judgment because of bias, conflict of interest, or the undue influence of the others. So next, the section 130, which is the professional competence and due care. So the principle of professional competence and due care imposes the following obligations on all professional accountants, which is to maintain professional knowledge and skills at the level required to ensure that clients or employees receive competent professional service, and to act diligently in accordance with applicable technical and professional standards when providing professional service. So dito, dapat ginagalingan mo yung trabaho mo, hindi lang na basta makagawa ka lang okay na. So next, the section 140, the confidentiality. He or she should not use or disclose any such information without proper and specific authority or unless permitted by the client or employer required by law. There is a professional duty to disclose information. So, to respect the confidentiality of information acquired as a result of professional and business relationships, and therefore not disclose any such information to third parties without proper and specific authority unless there is legal or professional right or duty to disclose, nor use the information for the personal advantage of the professional accountant or third parties. So next, section 140, the professional behavior. He or she should comply with relevant laws and regulations. So to comply with relevant laws and regulations, they avoid any actions that discredits the profession. So Part B, which is the professional accountants in public practice. So section 200, section 200 is all about introduction of this code. So this part of the code describes how the conceptual framework contained in Part A applies in certain situations to professional accountants in public practice. So next, the section 210, professional appointment. So sinasabi dito na clients have the right to choose their accountants whether as auditors or professional advisors, and to change their accountants if they so desire. Nakapaloob din dito yung client acceptance, engagement acceptance, changes in professional appointment, and transfer of records. So next, section 210, conflict of interest. In this code, yung mga professional accountants, bago mag-accept ng clients, ini-evaluate muna nila na baka magka-conflict of interest. Such circumstances may create threats to compliance with the fundamental principles, which is the objectivity. So, section 230, or the second opinion. second opinions is, ito yung si client nagpa-consult pa ng opinion sa isa pang auditor. Siguro hindi siya satisfied sa unang opinion kaya gusto niya pa ng second opinion. And dito rin nag-occur yung threat na professional competence and due care. So, Section 240, the fees and other types of remuneration. When entering into negotiations regarding professional services, a professional accountant in public practice may quote whatever fee is deemed appropriate. So, hindi dito sinasabi na hindi naman unethical if mababa yung fees ng professional accountant. But dito rin, magsisimula yung threat na self-interest and then yung professional competence and due care. Magkaka-self-interest si accountant na magtinikal sa mga amount kay sa isip niya mababa yung sahod niya and hindi niya na rin ginagalingan kasi nga mababa yung fees. So, Section 250, Marketing Professional Services. Diri na code si professional accountant if mag-advertise siya sang iyan na profession para may client na magkuha sa iya daad honest siya and truthful sa mga achievement and experiences. Hindi siya nag-exaggerate like kahit na wala siyang ganun na like halimbawa sabihin niya na meron na siyang 20 years experience pero 5 years pero bago pa lang gali siya naka-graduate. So, hindi dapat ganun hindi dapat siya magtinikal para lang may maka-market siya sa professional services. So, Section 260, Gifts and Hospitality. Yung mga gifts and hospitality na offer ni client maka-create ng threats. For example, a familiarity threat which is tanggapin mo yung offer or natanggapin mo yung offer kasi ka-close mo yung nag-offer. An intimidation threat to objectivity may result from the possibility of such offers being made public. So, Section 270, or Custody of Client's Asset. A professional accountant in public practice shall not assume custody of client monies and other assets unless permitted to do so by law, and if so, in compliance with any additional legal duties imposed on a professional accountant in public practice holding such assets. As part of client and engagement acceptance procedures na natalakay natin kanina, as a professional accountant, i-evaluate mo muna kung saan nakuha ni client yung assets niya baka sa illegal activities. So, Section 280, Objectivity in all services. So, sa natakal natin kanina, yung objectivity na dapat si accountant is not biased sa kanyang judgment. So, next, Section 290, Independence in Audit and Review Engagement. So, this section addresses the independence requirements for audit and review engagements, which are assurance engagements in which a professional accountant expresses a conclusion on historical financial information. As an accountant, daad may fair judgment ka sa every financial information na gina-review mo. And Section 291, Independence, Other Assurance Engagements. This section addresses independence requirements for assurance engagements that are not audit or review engagement. However, in limited circumstances involving certain assurance engagements where the assurance report is restricted for use by only intended users, which is the assurance team. Gidesigning code gani para ma-enhance yung degree of confidence about the outcome of the evaluation or measurement of a subject matter. So the conceptual approach to independence is the independence of mind and independence in appearance. So independence of mind is the auditor's perception of his own independence. the state of mind that permits the expression of a conclusion without being affected by influences that compromise professional judgment, thereby allowing an individual to act with integrity and exercise objectivity and professional skepticism. So, siguro nabasa nyo naman yung auditor's report ni Sir Frank. So, di ba na sabi niya doon yung pagiging independence ni Sir. So, dapat as a professional accountant, dapat merong independence of mind and independence in appearance. So, independence in appearance refers to the public perception of professional accountants' independence. So, dito, halimbawa, brother mo yung owner ng company na ginatrabahoan mo. Nagatrabaho ka as auditor. Dito nalalabas yung independence in appearance kasi i-question ni third party yung pagiging independent mo sa judgment mo. Kasi nga, brother mo yung may-ari. So, next, Part C, or Professional Accountants in Business. So, Section 300, Introduction. This part of the code describes how the conceptual framework contained in Part A applies in certain situations to professional accountants in business. This part does not describe all of the circumstances and relationships that could be encountered by a professional accountant in business that create or may create threats to compliance with the fundamental principles. Therefore, the professional accountant in business is encouraged to be alert for such circumstances and relationships. Section 310, Potential Conflicts. A professional accountant in business shall comply with the fundamental principles. There may be times, however, when a professional accountant's responsibilities to an employing organization and professional obligations to comply with the fundamental principles due in conflict. A professional accountant in business is expected to support the legitimate and ethical objectives established by the employer and the rules and procedures drawn up in support of those objectives. Section 320, Preparation and Reporting of Information. Professional accountants in business are often involved in the preparation of reporting of information that may either be made public or used by others inside or outside the employing organization. Such information may include financial or management information, for example, forecast and budget and financial statements, management discussion and analysis, and the management letter of representation provided to the auditors during the audit of the entity's financial statements. A professional accountant in business shall prepare or present such information fairly, honest, and in accordance with relevant professional standards so that the information will be understood in its context. Section 330, Acting with Sufficient Expertise. The fundamental principles of professional competence and due care requires that a professional accountant in business only undertakes significant tasks for which the professional accountant in business has or can obtain sufficient specific training expertise. A professional accountant in business shall not intentionally mislead an employer as the level of expertise or experience possessed, nor shall a professional accountant in business fail to seek appropriate expert advice and assistance when required. Section 340, Financial Interest. A professional accountant in business may have financial interest or may know of financial interest of immediate or close family members that in certain circumstances may create threats to compliance with the fundamental principles. So, Section 350, Inducement. A professional accountant in business or an immediate or close family member may be offered an inducement. Inducements may take various forms, including gifts, hospitality, preferential treatment, and inappropriate appeals to friendship or loyalty. So next, the Republic Act number 9298, the Philippines Accountancy Act of 2004. Republic Act 9298, the Philippines Accountancy Act of 2004, an act regulating the practice of accountancy in Philippines, repealing for the purpose of Presidential Decree number 692, otherwise known as the Revised Accountancy Law, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Overview of RA 92 and its IRR. The Republic Act number 9298, including its implementing rules and regulations, consists of 5 articles or rules with 44 sections, has 3 annexes, and was enacted into law on May 13, 2004. So, Article 1 or Rule 1. Act shall govern and provide for the regulation of education, examination for CPA, supervision, control, and regulation of practice, scope of practice, so the public, accountancy, commerce, and industry, education, and government. Definition of terms. So, Article 2 or Rule 2. Professional Regulatory Board. Chairman and 6 members. APO should submit its nominees not later than 60 days. And qualifications: natural-born Filipino, registered CPA with 10 years experience. Term: 3 years. No person shall serve in the board for more than 12 years. Receive compensation and allowances. Powers and functions: monitor conditions, supervise registration, licensure and practice, prescribe and adopt rules, conduct oversight into quality, issue, suspend, revoke, or reinstate the regulation, submit a report at close of each year. So, FRSC composed of 15 members with a chairman and 14 representatives. AASC composed of 15 members with a chairman and 14 representatives. Educational Technical Council or ETC composed of 7 members with a chairman and 6 representatives with function of determine a minimum standard curriculum, establish teaching standards, monitor progress of program, evaluate performance of educational institutions. Board is under supervision of the Commission, may remove or suspend members of the board when neglect of duty, violation of the Act, final judgment of crimes involving moral turpitude, manipulation. So, Article 3 or Rule number 3, examination or registration and licensure. Qualifications for examinations. So, Filipino citizen, good moral character, BSA degree, not convicted of any crime involving moral turpitude, and documents submitted to support requirements. So, in NSO, college diploma, and NBI clearance. Scope of exam: TOA or Business Law and Tax, Management Accounting, AP, and Practical 1 and 2. Rating: general average of 75% with no grades lower than 65%. So, that's all. Thank you.